Welcome to this midsummer episode of The Modern Moron. I'm so excited to share the conversation I had with a young musician named Miles Connor. He's currently a student at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee, and was born and raised in the Dallas, Texas area. He's a bit of an old soul in that he was brought up with a lot of classic rock artists from the 60s and 70s. I believe his first instrument was the guitar, but his father was and is an accomplished musician and toured professionally back in the day as a drummer. I've been wanting to talk to Miles for years, literally, as I've heard over and over what an accomplished musician he was becoming and how affable and friendly he was. Well, one of my fancy friends from my days in LA flew to Nashville for the 4th of July. In fact, that person, Gillian Welch, has been on this program before in one of our first episodes when we did a tribute to her parents, Ken and Mitzie Welch, who were Emmy Award winning music arrangers for the Carol Burnett show and I believe the Jack Parr show way back in the day. Julie is also friends with a guy named Brad Paisley. Probably have heard of him whether or not you are familiar with country music. He really is a household name, even if you play a little country music in your house. Brad performed in Nashville and has previously and still does on the 4th of July. He's sort of the unofficial mayor, and it was broadcast this year on CNN without political commentary. Julie arranged for my guest Miles to meet her sister, Gillian Welch, who has been nominated for multiple Grammy Awards over the years and won a Grammy for Best Folk Album in 2021. So Miles got to meet Gillian Welch. Then she took Miles to the Paisleys' home / music ranch. Is that a thing, a music ranch? You round up the notes and chords? Okay. He got to go there. He got to go to the Paisleys' place and not only meet Brad Paisley, but jam with him and talk music. Brad went to the same college that Miles is currently attending. He got to hang there the evening before the 4th with some more fancy people, including SNL alum Kevin Nealon, who's a decent banjo player himself, by the way. A couple of other names get dropped, including Michael Hitchcock and Tim Bagley. What? Now, those two names may not seem like a household name, but if you saw either of them, you'd say, oh, I know that guy. Well, they're both kind of heroes of mine. And Michael is probably most recognized for his role in Christopher Guest's Best in Show, where he was paired with Parker Posey as a couple showing Weimaraners, and they were both adults wearing braces.
We met at Starbucks. Not at the same Starbucks, but we saw each other at different Starbucks across the street from each other.
I'd seen you at law school before.
Yeah.
And I know that sometimes I'd be in one Starbucks and then you'd be in the other Starbucks. And then I think maybe, I should go over to that Starbucks the next weekend and then you'd be at the other Starbucks. So we kind of crossed. I know, it seems so stupid now.
He's so good.
Ugh. I remember what I was drinking when I met you. It was a grande espresso.
That's right, and I thought that was really sexy.
Yeah.
See, you remember them. He also wrote and produced many episodes of the hit show Glee, which ran from 2009 to 2015, and you can see him literally all over the place. He's a great character actor. Tim Bagley is also a great actor who's currently playing Brad Schrader in the HBO hit Somebody Somewhere. You'd also remember him on the show Monk with Tony Shalhoub. Tim played Monk's neighbor, Harold, and of course, Larry from Will and Grace.
I just realized today the answer to all my problems was right in front of me. I'm in love with Will.
What?
I am in love with Will and I want to shout it from a mountaintop!
Or bury it deep inside you and just cry in the shower like a normal person. You cannot tell him. It will ruin your friendship.
I see you guys once a year.
What about Joe?
Joe. He has a big ass and can't cook. No offense, Grace.
There I go, down another rabbit hole. You see how this happens? It happens in the interview, too. Anyway, both of these guys are hugely funny. Miles mentions them in his story. They are both working all the time, and they are very dear to this old moron, as I knew them way back when I was in LA when they were, very, 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 very young. in case they ever listen to this. They were very, very young when I first met them, like teenagers.
Okay, we get it.
Back to Miles. And an additional reason I think you're going to love him is his knowledge of the history of rock and country. We talk about Glenn Campbell. He was known for his guitar playing as well, and Miles recalls what a great session player Glenn Campbell was back in the day, playing for music producer Phil Spector, as well as playing and singing with the Beach Boys. Brad Paisley is right up there in his guitar playing alongside Glenn Campbell. In fact, I'm including the link to a YouTube video of some legendary guitar players having a session at the Fender Custom Shop playing the theme to Game of Thrones, back when that show was insanely popular. In that video are players like Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, Scott Ian from Anthrax, and Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme, and Brad Paisley. Now, those first guys may not be number one on your Spotify list, but you have at least heard of those bands because of their longevity, and their longevity is partially due to those outstanding musicians / guitar players. See there? I'm off track again. So, Miles is going to tell us about his very, very exciting and fun 4th of July experience, mixed in with some talk about music, guitars, steel pedal guitars, and what it's like to be a young, very enthusiastic musician getting their career started. This may be the first time you hear the name Miles Connor, but I bet it won't be the last. Please enjoy. How many interviews have you done so far in your life?
I think this is my first one. Actually,
Awesome.
I've done like one or two, but this is my first cool one.
Okay, don't turn it on too hard, too fast. What interviews have you done?
Just for like shows here in town, just like interviews for like social media websites.
And in town in Texas or in town, where are you right now?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee right now.
And you're going to school there, right?
Yeah, yes.
What's the name of the school you go to?
So the school is called Belmont University,
Uh-huh.
but it's summer right now and I'm still in Nashville, so I'm just playing full time, playing a couple nights a week, writing a lot of music.
Okay. Is Belmont University known for its music program?
Yes. So they're not like just a music school, but that's pretty much like what they do best. So their
Right.
music business program is
Music business.
Yep.
Okay. And with your classmates and the people that you're hanging out with and so forth, are there all kinds of genres of music students?
Yeah, there's a ton, but the majority isn't country, which I was surprised about living in Nashville. It's a lot of like indie pop.
Okay.
Yeah, which was caught me off guard because I thought I'd get here and everyone would want to be a country artist.
And is that your interest?
Yes.
It is. And the blues as well, I would throw in a little blues.
Yeah, and I think country and blues go hand in hand, but I grew up
Agreed.
playing pretty traditional blues, and I've kind of now tried to morph my love of that and country to try and kind of come up with whatever I sound like as an artist.
Which is ever evolving, hopefully, as an artist.
Yep. Always evolve. Every day it changes because you always have a different influence. Every day, you find something that you like, and whether you know it or not, you're taking stuff from that.
What would you say your earliest musical influences were?
So my parents played a bunch of music around the house, and it was always like from the earliest memories are Rolling Stones,
Mm-hmm.
Kiss, Elton John, the Beatles. I mean,
Okay.
and I think the Beatles were the first time where I ever like really took an interest to seek out music on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in, I think it was 5th grade, and somehow I'd never heard the song Yesterday, and it came up on my little iPod Touch, and I remember that was the moment where I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. How can something like this exist and I not know about it?
And you've seen the movie Yesterday.
Yes.
What did you think of that take on it? I thought it was really cool. I mean,
I thought it was cool. I thought it was really fun.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And your dad, this being around music, but your dad plays the drums still.
Yes, he was a professional drummer back in Los Angeles, but he still plays. So I grew up going out every weekend to see him play.
Oh, so he was with the band even in Texas.
Yes, just like a local cover band playing like pour some sugar on me and that.
Well, I knew your mom and dad way back when they were in LA. Was he ever in the Blue Man Group?
He was not. He auditioned for it though.
That's what it was. I remember hanging out with your mom and dad one time, and I don't remember if he actually was in the Blue Man Group, but he auditioned for it,
Yeah.
which is a lot of percussion in
Yep.
that act, I think.
But he played for a lot of great acts. He was in the Chambers Brothers for a while.
Okay.
And back in the 60s, they had some hits like Time.
Yes, absolutely. Time is a
were-
huge, iconic hit for them.
Yeah. And so he has some great stories of that. But he also toured Europe a lot with an artist called Alberto Fortis, who was like an Italian pop star. So he definitely
Really?
had his fair share of like cool touring and record making.
That's awesome. Where are you physically right now? I hear birds in the background. Or do these birds just follow you wherever you go?
I'm on my porch.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a big wraparound porch. I can move
Awesome.
inside if that's a bit easier.
No. It's great. It's great. It's great. So I need to stay focused here, and it's going to be really difficult because I've wanted to talk to you for so long about music, and you're a guitarist, and I love guitars and the whole thing. I was in radio for a while back when people listened to the radio for their music. So I have so many things I'd like to talk to you about, but specifically the 4th of July. You had a rather unique, non-traditional 4th of July. Would that be accurate?
Oh, absolutely. I did. It was nothing. It was something like I'd never experienced anything quite like that before.
Mm-hmm. And did you know what it was going to be like going in, or were you just like you could only imagine?
I heard a little bit about it, but like hearing, you're going to be hanging out on stage with Brad Paisley is different than actually is different than actually getting up there and doing it. So I imagined it'd be pretty cool, but the result exceeded my expectations.
Oh man, everybody knows who Brad Paisley is, and if you don't, well then you shouldn't be listening right now. In fact, stop playing this and go research Brad Paisley. But even among country artists and outside the genre of country, he is very highly regarded just for his guitar playing.
Yeah. Oh, he's one of the all-time great country players. I mean, it's James Burton, Vince Gill. I mean, all these like great players would tell you he's right up there as one of the best.
Absolutely. Even Glenn Campbell, who people
Yeah.
don't realize what an
monster.
accomplished guitar player he was.
One of the greatest session musicians of all time, let alone like his incredible body of original music.
I would say Glenn Campbell is to country guitar playing possibly what Eric Clapton is to the blues in Europe, because back in the day when they created Cream with Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker, they called that band Cream because those three were the cream of the crop of session musicians in Great Britain.
Yep.
And Glenn Campbell was that in America back in the 60s. He was part of the Wall of Sound, right?
Yeah. So he worked with Phil Spector, and like
Yes.
he played guitar on Pet Sounds and like all these great LA 60 recordings. I think he was even on some like Buck Owens stuff because all that was recorded in LA.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, what a lot of people don't know is he also, when Brian Wilson was like having one of his breakdowns, he filled in the Beach Boys touring band as Brian.
That's
So
right.
he was playing like those really great Beach Boys bass lines and singing that crazy Brian Wilson falsetto. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brad Paisley is right up there. There's a YouTube recording. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. HBO had a huge hit with a show called Game of Thrones. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And a very iconic theme song.
The guitar, is it the
Yes.
Game of Thrones guitars with Brad Paisley?
Yes. I mean, the guitarists that walk into the studio, I think it was at a Guitar Center or something. I don't know what it was. But these iconic guitar players, mostly known for rock and hard rock, like Pantera, and I don't know
Tommy, the guy from Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello.
Okay, yeah, like iconic guitars, and then here comes Brad Paisley in with his baseball hat on, with his Telecaster, and just rips it with the rest of them.
Oh yeah, he's I mean, he's the man.
Yeah. So this is all prefacing our mutual friend Julie, who said, "Hey, I'm coming out to Nashville for the 4th of July," right?
Yep.
So take me through what happened blow by blow.
We joked because she had been friends with Brad Paisley. She was in a friend group where they would play Mafia, which is a game during COVID, and I always joked. I mean, for 2 years, I'm like, I gotta meet Brad Paisley, and it was just pretty much. It became like a bit,
Yeah.
like not even anything serious. But
Yes.
she got invited again to do their big 4th of July event. So they always have. I'd never been before, but from what I'd been told, they have like all their closest friends out, and they stay at the Paisley's beautiful compound, and then Brad Paisley plays at the very front of Broadway on 4th of July. So they build a giant stage at the end, right near the Cumberland River, and then all of Broadway, the entire stretch, fills up with people to see this match.
Which is like the Strip in Vegas, but Nashville.
Yeah.
You can go see an act any time of day or night. Like early in the morning, somebody's playing in a bar.
At every bar. I mean, it's like Vegas now. 10 years ago, it was a lot. Like I've been told it was like pretty doable and easy, but now it's like a fully corporate, like constant. It's drinks are expensive, everything's expensive. It's like Vegas.
Okay.
So to see it filled up like that, just down the entire street with people all singing these lyrics back to him, was amazing. And so standing on the stage, I had the same view as Brad and the band. And I can't even imagine what's going through their minds seeing something like that.
But they're used to it, probably.
Oh, they probably are. But I just can't. I can't. That's so special just because I can tell Brad was someone who loved Nashville. Like at my age, I love Nashville, and it's a dream of mine to play Broadway for that many people. It doesn't get cooler than that for a lover of country music.
So again, I interrupted you. You've set it up, but before you even got there, did you pick up Julie or did she pick up you?
So I picked up Julie from her sister Gillian Welch's house,
and you got to meet her. Who she
did.
is in another. What genre would you put Gil in?
I would say she's Americana, but
bluegrass or Americana, is that that's a genre?
Yep. And so Gillian Welch is one of my favorite artists of all time. So that alone was blowing my mind because all my favorite. I mean, her and Dave Rawlings have made some of my favorite records ever. Revelator, Dark Turn of Mind. I mean, this is the stuff that just made me want to write songs. And they did a lot of work with Ryan Adams, who I love his songwriting.
Old 97s?
Yep.
Okay.
And so they own Woodland Studios, which I'm a total nerd for the history of that place. So I had an infinite amount of questions for Gil.
And she's a pretty private person, right?
Yeah. They don't really get out too much. I don't think they're touring right now, but they have their studio and they're making a record, and that's what they love to do 24/7.
And you got to chat with them? What was that? What did you get to see? Did you get to see the studio?
I did not. We just hung out in their living room, and Dave wasn't actually there. So
okay.
I haven't seen Dave in 4 years. I met him at one of his shows, but I think now if I met Dave, it would be really cool because as a bluegrass guitar player, I think I could learn a lot from him.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing, right?
Oh, he's I mean, so most guitar players, even Brad Paisley, even if I can't play what they're playing, I can understand what they're doing. Dave Rawlings is one of those guys where I hear it and I just have no idea how he's making the sounds that he makes.
What kind of a guitar does he play?
He plays a 1935 Epiphone Olympic archtop.
And what's it made of? Is it a steel guitar?
No, so it's an archtop guitar, so it's fully hollow in the middle. I think those were made out of mahogany. And I actually, so because I'm such a big Dave Rawlings fan, I saved up in high school and bought one. So I have an old Epiphone Olympic just like his, and they're fantastic
Really?
guitars. Yeah.
It's that old.
Yeah, I have a 41. His was a 35, but 1941 is pretty. That's a pretty old guitar.
Yeah. What is it? I mean, you could any stringed instrument, it seems to be that way. What is it about the older why can't we reproduce that using technology of today to get to reproduce that sound? It's the same way with amplifiers. These classic artists, and probably you as well, want to play amps with tubes. What is it about that older technology or way of building guitars that make you want to go back to that instead of a new guitar?
I mean, the way I always thought of it, because I collect vintage instruments and I love it, and it's like, this could be the guitar that this could be the same year John Lennon used to record do my favorite record. So people have this nostalgia for their favorite record, like Led Zeppelin 2. Jimmy Page recorded that on a 1959 Les Paul. Now 59 Les Pauls are going for $400,000 to $500,000, and that because everyone's favorite records were done on these guitars. But I do think there's like a story to it. Like my main guitar is a 1965 Gibson 330, and so that's a beautiful cherry red. It looks like Clapton's old hollow body, and it's beat to shit. When I got it, like the whole body is covered in nicotine stains from being played in smoked clubs. The person who had it before me was a country singer and an old like African American country singer, and he never cut his fingernails. So in the fretboard, it's all dug out from his fingernails.
Oh, did you get that for Christmas?
No, that's a new guitar actually. Very rarely do I get a new guitar, but that was there's so much character in these instruments, and when I'm playing it, I feel like I'm part of this guitar's lineage. So I think that's a big important part to it.
So it's not just the sound. It's more to it than that.
Yeah. And they sound amazing. Something about that old wood sounds incredible. And they've tried everything to recreate it. Like I've talked a lot with the custom builders at Gibson, and these days they have a freezing process that's supposed to recreate like 60 years of aging. So when you buy a Gibson Les Paul now, like a custom shop one, they, will freeze the body and the neck in this special machine that's like, it'll make the paint react the same way as 60 years of sitting in a case does. So it's really cool, but you can never get it quite right.
So those weathered guitars that I see them selling brand new guitars and they look weathered and beat up, that's not just a stylistic choice. That's part of the process of aging the guitar.
Yes, but it's also a stylistic choice.
Okay. To make you look like you're a veteran when you're a rookie.
Yep.
Okay. See what I mean about digressing? This is supposed to be about that 4th of July that you just had. So you go pick up.
You can't get me talking about guitars. I'll never stop.
I don't want to stop you. But you pick up Julie, you meet Gillian Welch, you chat for a little bit, and then what happens? What time did you pick Julie up?
So I got to Julie's at about 5:30, and we hung out with Gil till about 6.
Okay.
And then we made our way in my car to the Paisleys, and they only live about 20 minutes. Nashville is tiny. You can get anywhere in Nashville in 20 minutes.
Okay.
So, and that's not what I expected moving here. I thought it'd be like LA where it takes forever. But so we get to the Paisleys, and I remember there was like 2 gates. Like, I mean, it is isolated. This is like you're out in the boonies, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful land. But we were the first ones at the house. Actually, no, I remember it because I'll never forget. We go up to the door, and all I can hear is Brad Paisley ripping upstairs in his studio. And so we're standing at that front door, and I'm just listening upstairs to this insane country playing, and I'm thinking, holy shit! I mean, the Brad Paisley's up there playing guitar,
right?
And then I think someone from his team comes and lets us in, and then we just hang out around the house. No one had gotten there yet. I think Brad was working on something, and pretty soon after, everyone else arrives. Kevin Nealon, Susan Yeagley, so yeah, more people arrive, and then it's casual. Brad comes and walks up to me. I introduce myself, and they had told him that I'm a Belmont student.
Uh-huh.
And so we talk about Belmont a little, but he had never he didn't really know I was like a musician. So
Oh, really?
we talked very briefly, and he was like, feel free to pick up, any of my guitars and play them.
When he said that, did you piss your pants a little bit?
Oh yeah. I am not one to shy away from that. I take that as all right, I'm going to try all of them.
So what did you pick up? How many guitars? So did he take you up to where he was working?
So out right off the living room, he has a bunch of rooms of guitars, but I went in this one room, and it's filled with more 52 tellies than I've ever seen, like the holy grail of Telecasters, and they're like a dime a dozen.
Wow.
And or like a Buck Owens guitar that was Buck's, or like a James Burton Telecaster that James Burton gave him. All of this stuff, I'm just losing my mind. But I ended up picking up an old Martin. I believe it was like a 1945 D28. And I start playing on that. And I'm talking to Brad's kids. And then I guess people heard me playing, and they come in, and Brad recognized that I play. And that's when he took me to see the really cool stuff.
So the first guitar you picked up was an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he heard that, okay, this guy does more than open chords.
Yep.
And so then he took you to the pro room.
Yeah. So the workshop, and in this workshop, just, hundreds of guitar bodies, old Telecaster pickups. This is like a guitar player's dream, because he really does a bunch of combinations of trying different necks on different bodies, different hardware. But in this room, he has a vault, and in that vault was all these insane, a 1938 D28. Something like that is impossible to come by. And that was the best guitar I've ever played. So we were just talking guitars and jamming, and I had so many questions about Buck Owens and George Jones, because he got to be good friends with them, and those guys are my heroes. So it was really cool getting to hear his experience.
Okay.
And I'm trying not to lose my mind. I'm like, this guy, it's Brad Paisley. When you go to the Grand Ole Opry, which is my dream is to play the Grand Ole Opry, you go there, and right in the front of the building is a 100-foot diagonal picture of Brad Paisley. He's the face of Nashville and country music.
Yeah.
And then now he has to listen to me play guitar. Poor bastard.
However, his kids thought you were pretty good?
Yeah. So when I was playing before Brad came in, I was playing, and his kids go, "What?" His kids, I hear him run up to Brad and go, "Wow, he's better than you, Dad."
What a loser.
And what did he say?
Oh, Brad thought it was hilarious. And Kimberly came in the room and was I thought that was Brad playing guitar, but I looked over and he was in the kitchen.
Wow, that's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah, that's the best compliment I've ever gotten. So that was so cool.
Brad's pretty funny. He was being interviewed. I forgot where I was watching, probably on YouTube, but he was being interviewed, and he said he had written a song, and he was playing it in the kitchen for the family. And he finished it, and one of his sons said, "Well, they all can't be winners, Dad."
No way.
It was wow. Something like that. His kids are his toughest critics, but he has a pretty good sense of humor too. Well, he's buddies with Kevin Nealon, so.
Oh, yeah. And what most people don't understand, what I tried to explain to everyone is these people, when they're not trying, like Kevin Nealon and Brad and Michael Hitchcock, and these people, when they're not trying, when they're just hanging out with their families, not trying to be funny, they're still the funniest people I've ever met on the planet.
I probably had the same experience with Mike Hitchcock that you had with Brad Paisley. I remember being in the Groundlings Theater, watching him perform, and being so blown away, and Tim Bagley, and being so blown away by those two. and thinking they were like gods of comedy and humor. And the next thing I know, I'm performing on the same stage as they were on and being around them. And I literally wrote a fan letter to Tim Beckley once
Sure you want to say that?
from a one person show he did while I was still a student. I was kind of embarrassed to do it, but I was just like so moved by his work and how funny and personable he was. So I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
That's exactly how I felt around Brad. But also, so I'm a massive fan of like stand-up comedy and comedy in general. And if I could do anything, like I would trade guitar playing and music to be funny in a heartbeat.
Oh, I think you're going to have an opportunity to do both.
That's the dream. But so I'm a massive Kevin Nealon fan, and just like getting to be around these guys. We were like watching a movie together. We all got together and watched a movie. And of course, like no one can stay silent. They're all comedians. So every 2 seconds, someone's cracking a joke. And they're all used to it. They're all used to it. So like no one even laughs. But I was just dying.
That's so fantastic. So you're there, you got to jam with Brad, and it's about what, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening now?
Yep. Yeah. And
So what's next?
So then we get dinner, and they had a catering company do like this beautiful like taco Mexican food. And during that whole dinner, I'm talking to Brad. Like it was blowing my mind. And so he went to the same college I went to. So we had that in common.
Oh, he
So,
went to Belmont?
yeah.
Okay.
And so it was so nice. Like a lot of the issues I have with Belmont in college, and like a lot of the struggles I'm going through as a student, like Brad went through all the same stuff. So he really like reassured everything for me. And he reminded me like, you know, you need a 2.3 GPA to pass. That's all you need. And so that out of everything, that's what I took to heart from this trip.
Plus, if you think about it, you're pursuing an art. What is an A versus or a 4.0 versus a 3.0 or a 2.0 when art is, you and I can listen to the same piece of music or read the same book and have different experiences, and neither are better or worse, right?
Yeah, it's all kind of make believe. Like even I'm a songwriting major, and it's all kind of a little bit bullshit because you can't really teach someone how to write a song. You can point them in the right direction, but some people either have it or they don't have it, and it's all about who you meet. So like I haven't really learned anything yet at Belmont, but I've made my lifelong friends and I've made lifelong band members, and so that's the beauty of it.
You've begun a network of people.
Yep. Yeah. And even Brad said, because every person, so when I moved out to Nashville, I quickly learned every person working in the Nashville music industry, every A&R man, every record label executive, everyone went to Belmont. And so everyone who I'm going to be like working with in the future is all the kids I'm at school with right now.
Wow, that's cool. So it's 7 o'clock. You've eaten dinner. And when is Brad supposed to go on? He's still at his house, right?
So this is the night before. I'm sorry, I clarified. So this was the night before the 4th of July show.
Okay.
So what we did after dinner, we played Mafia.
Mm-hmm.
And getting to play Mafia with like the funniest people around. I mean, I could barely play it because I was laughing so hard.
Right.
I mean, and I got stuck sitting next to Kevin Nealon, which is a curse because of how unbelievably funny he is.
Right. That's awesome.
So that was pretty much the majority of the night, just getting to hang out with them, and that was really a great time because I got to really like know everybody a little bit, which made the next day, which was 4th of July, even better because by the time the 4th of July came around, like I had known everyone and we all like we're just having a party,
bonded.
Yeah.
And when did that start?
So 4th of July, I meet Julie at her hotel and we go to the Four Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So at the Four Seasons, we were the first people there. So we were waiting in this like beautiful upstairs like area with a pool that overlooked downtown Nashville. And then everyone arrived. So Kimberly, all the kids, Kevin, everyone showed up, and they just it was like they brought out the best food ever, the nicest Four Seasons meal.
Wow.
And we had a blast. Like me and Kevin were playing cornhole just a bunch against some random kid.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And so from that dinner, we get escorted to a tour bus. So, and this was actually really funny. So it's pouring down rain, like
Okay.
hemorrhaging. It's a crazy storm, and everyone jumps in a golf cart to go to the tour bus because it's like almost a mile to get there,
Mhm.
and there's not enough space. So me, Kevin Nealon, and Michael Hitchcock get stranded. Like everyone gets escorted to the tour bus, but like it was so hectic, like they just forgot about us.
Uh-huh.
So there was nothing funnier than being like caught in the rain, you know, stuck in downtown Nashville with these guys. And that might have been my favorite part of the whole night because it was like none of us could believe, like, holy shit, like they're not coming back for us.
Okay.
And finally, after like a pretty like funny amount of time, like we were finally able to get a hold of someone, and they're like, oh shit, like we got to go get them. So they come back and get me, Kevin, and Michael Hitchcock. And then we go hang out on Brad's bus where everyone was playing improv games, which playing improv games with those people is not fun because the second it's like my turn, I look up, everyone's looking at me, and it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to say?
It's all training for future performances.
Any future performance I do will still be easier than that.
Oh, God. So you're playing improv games on Brad Paisley's tour bus. And what happens after that?
We hung out there for a while. That was just kind of like, that was a really fun time. And then after that, it's time to go to the stage. So they were gonna drive everyone to the stage on a golf cart. But me and Kurt, he's a massive country music fan also, and we thought it'd be quicker to just walk there. So me and him jump off, and we're just gonna like kind of like sprint towards the stage. But we get caught up in is like entourage because he's got Secret Service.
Has
So
to.
I'm like walking, and I'm surrounded by Secret Service men, and I'm looking around like, this is so weird.
It's surreal.
Yeah, it was surreal, and it was so fun. And so I finally get up to the stage, and we get up there, and Brad starts pretty immediately after we're up there, and he kicks into it, and I'm just looking down Broadway, seeing a sea of people, and it's just mind-blowing.
And I think your mom told Julie that she was watching on CNN and saw you on stage.
Yeah. So I was, and I'll shoot you some pictures I got of that night because I think you'll really appreciate them. But so I was all over the television because I was standing on I tried to get as close as possible. I was going to make the most of this.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I stayed put right there. I had a great spot for the show, and it was a killer night of music. Joe Bonamassa, who was a player,
Yeah.
he came up and played, and that was unbelievable. And Jerry Douglas is in Brad Paisley's band, so there were so many factors that I was trying not to freak out about. It's so cool.
Right. And then how did the evening conclude for you?
So the concert lasted a pretty long while, and after the show, everyone ran to hang out on Brad's bus for a minute. But I stayed back because I really wanted to meet Bonamassa.
Mm-hmm.
So I waited and got to talk to him for a little bit, which was so cool because he's such an incredible player and
Right.
a guitar historian. I mean, that's what I love most about him is he cares about the history of what he's doing. And I feel like I'm the same way. But so we hang out on Brad's bus for about 5 minutes, and then we go to a private viewing area to watch the fireworks. And it was just like, it was so fun getting to be around all those people, having the best seat in the house for this incredible Nashville fireworks show with the Nashville Symphony Orchestra.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
The fireworks show lasted a very long time. Like, I had no idea it was going to be like 35 minutes of just nonstop.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy fireworks.
That is crazy.
So after that concluded, Brad and his family, they get into like, you know, a presidential style SUV and get escorted out by police. I mean, it's so cool to see. I mean, it was literally like the president of Nashville
The
wasn't.
president of Nashville was.
And that was a blast. And so I said goodbye to Julie. Her hotel was like a 2-minute walk from there. And I ended up walking home because it was so crowded. Like I couldn't get an Uber or anything. And the interesting thing is, and I did not expect this, the air was so pitch black from the fireworks that when
Really?
I was walking home, I couldn't see the person 6 feet in front of me.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah, and I never thought about that aspect, but like I guess when you put on a fireworks show that is that big and that long, that's bound to happen.
wow. That's a concern.
Yeah, that could not have been good for my singing lungs.
No, you should have been wearing a mask.
But I'll take, I would take hanging out with the Paisleys over a light cough for a few days.
Awesome story. If I can, I'd like to go back to something you said while you were sort of eating. I guess you guys were having dinner and you were talking to Brad about your struggles at school and how he could relate to them. What are some of the struggles that you're coming up against in this early stage of your this was your freshman year?
Yes. Yeah.
What are some of the struggles that you're coming up and did you expect them or like I didn't know it was going to be like this type of stuff?
So coming from high school, I had a bit of a warped high school view because I did my last 3 years of high school online, which meant that, I didn't really go to high school every day.
Because of the pandemic.
Well, yeah, but even after the pandemic, I just stayed online.
Oh, okay.
Because by then I was getting to play music full time and spent all my days writing and recording and playing shows at night, which was really like a great time. But I spent like 2 years straight just doing nothing but like practicing my craft and falling in love with music.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming to college and like, for example, in my songwriting class, like one of the assignments is like write a song by yourself, and half the girls in the class are like, I don't play an instrument, like I don't know what to do.
Shut the front door.
And I'm thinking this is what my parents are paying $50,000 a year for me to sit here and like be around kids who don't play an instrument in a songwriting class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it was really disheartening. I felt like sometimes I was wasting a lot of precious time doing really rudimentary stuff that I'd already done 2 years ago.
Okay.
Just because I loved music so much. And so I feel like I got a head start on a lot of kids my age. And Brad related to that too. Like Brad kind of was the exact same way. He spent his youth like fully playing music and like just felt like, everyone was going at a much slower pace than him.
Mm-hmm. And what advice did he have for you?
His advice really was keep doing what I'm doing. Everything I was doing, he told me was the right thing. I go to my classes and then I'm out in Nashville either playing or doing co-writes or, trying to meet people. So it's very important. Like, and he agreed, like, you got to go out and like be in the real world. Cause I have so many friends who graduate Belmont at 22 years old and they never did anything outside of Belmont. And it's like, they pretty much just moved to Nashville, even though they've been there for 5 years.
And yet Brad told you to stay and go through these rudimentary things that feel rudimentary to do it anyway.
Well, not exactly. He reminded me. He reminded me you need like a 2 point. It was like a 2.3.
Oh, 2.3. Okay.
And
okay.
so it was pretty much like do the work, meet the right people, and then keep pushing in Nashville just as an artist.
And is this university a vehicle to getting to meet some of those people?
Oh, absolutely. Because
Okay.
all the staff.
Okay.
All the staff is like real music industry professionals.
Okay.
Like my music business teacher for a while is the guitar player for Little Texas. Do you remember that band?
Yes, I do.
So
in
it's
the late 80s they had.
Yeah.
I do remember Little Texas. Yeah.
So all the professors like really did have real world experience in the music business and still do. That's the interesting thing. Like a few of my teachers are like, work for record labels and they do the Belmont thing just as a little side gig. So you really do get to meet a lot of great people.
And using their reputation as a draw.
Yeah. And so like another problem, like I remember the advice that Belmont songwriters got. The way I kind of interpreted it as is like, oh, stay in the Belmont program, go through the 4 years, and then when you get out, then try and make a career as a songwriter after Belmont. And I'm thinking like I need to be out doing it right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so Brad went through the exact same thing. And so it was just very reassuring knowing like my feelings are valid and, it's okay to feel that way and just keep promoting myself and just keep pushing to get get where I want to be.
And where is that? Do you even know yet? And do you think that 3 years, 5 years from now, that place will change and be different?
I want to be an artist for sure. After looking down that Broadway stage and like seeing all those people singing his lyrics back, I had no doubt in my mind this is exactly what I want to do. But I also love songwriting and would love to write songs for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that. I mean, I do a lot of co-writes in town and have a few songs coming out that other people are cutting that are songs I've written. So I'd love to do both aspects of that. But yeah, being an artist and playing my original music is the dream.
Would you picture yourself as the front person for a band or part of a band?
So
What do you
de-
visualize there?
definitely a front person. So
Okay.
I play quite often in Nashville, and so my band right now we just are Miles Connor. It's just under my name, but we have
Mm-hmm.
bass, drums, keys, pedal steel, and fiddle, and then me on guitar. So I'm surrounded by a lot of great musicians who like believe in the stuff I'm writing and want to keep doing what we're doing. So we're about to make a record, and we've been playing like a bunch of like festivals around here. So it's been fun.
Then when you got to town, you decide, okay, one of the boxes to check off is I've got to coordinate my own band. And was the college a platform for that, or did you go into town to get your musicians?
College was absolutely a platform for that, and
Okay.
that's something that I did get out of Belmont.
Mm-hmm.
At least this first year is like my drummer and my bass player go to Belmont, and through them I met some non-Belmont musicians. Through them I met other non-Belmont. So it all kind of like it's such a small town. It all kind of intertwines, and you meet a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, who just through going out and playing every night.
With your music business class, coincidentally, I get lost on YouTube all the time, and I recently listened to an interview with Billy. I think it's Billy Corrigan of the Smashing Pumpkins
Yeah.
and Daryl Hall. I don't you remember that from Hall
Yep.
and Oates, and both of them were being interviewed about the music business, and both of them I could tell didn't really want to say how they really felt because they felt very, very taken advantage of in the music business. Do you feel like you're getting an education about the pitfalls of the music business? Because
Yeah.
they are
Ab-
there.
Absolutely. I do think, I mean, I am learning a lot in that aspect. I know some of my classes are fantastic. And then sometimes, like, I had a class called First Year Seminar where we would just like have just the weirdest discussions in this. Like, I would just get to class and we would just have like a 45-minute debate, some weird thing that, like, I always remember being I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Is this really how I'm spending, my Friday afternoon in Nashville? So and you got to get that stuff out of the way. So I understand that every college kid goes through it, but it was just weird having to, coming from back home in Texas where I did music full time. It was weird after having to sit in an 8 a.m. Bible class.
Oh, there's a religious facet to this college.
Yeah, so Belmont wants to be the biggest private Christian university in the world, and
Okay.
that's really cool. It's just something that I wasn't like as used to, so that kind of came as a surprise. But like I said earlier, I really am not the best person to ask about Belmont because of how little I'm involved in all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really spend all my time out in town trying to do the music thing.
When you're so ingrained in music and learning how to be a better guitar player and learning how to write songs structurally different than you currently do, or just trying to grow as, like you said, as an artist, and especially for country music, in my opinion, you don't you have to be a little bit careful about getting entrenched in that sort of subculture of the entertainment business. A lot of great country, and John Prine comes to mind for me as a great songwriter of it's a it's about a relatability to life, which is not glamorous stuff. It's about, blue collar workers and emotions that we all have. How do you balance that?
Well, I think everyone is human. Even Brad Paisley, I always thought of someone like as this country super god. But
Mhm.
he's just like a normal dude, who just loves country music and plays country music. So everyone is a normal person and can, at least songwriters, like you can always find something to relate to.
Okay.
Uh, and so for me, like I often write about like my friends and like their experiences and what's going on around them. So if you really like want to be a songwriter, everything you do on a daily basis, you can take something from that and apply it to writing.
I think there's a strong similarity of what you just said with a stand-up comedian. I sort of look at stand-ups as sort of the philosophers of our time. They go on stage and they hold up these concepts of like, what are we doing here? Whether it's political or life in general, the minutia of life, or big heavy topics. You gotta, if you're gonna be an artist like that in songwriting or comedy, you've got to be present and in the moment, which, by the way, is improv is a great vehicle to that. To know that a small moment isn't just a small moment; it's a reflection of bigger things.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And songs capture that perfectly. I mean, that's my favorite part about like listening to a song is, especially in country music does it the best, where you can tell a story and the story might be about one thing, but it's gonna every person's gonna interpret it and attribute it to a different part of their life.
Yes.
And once you write a song that means something different to everyone, but it means something to them, that's when you've hit the jackpot.
Yeah. When it comes to your contribution, you say you do a lot of writing around town, contributing writing sessions. What do you consider to be your strong suit right now in terms of what you contribute? Is it melodic, or is it the lyrical, or where do you feel like your talent set fits into all that?
Well, it depends on the day, and it depends on the people I'm writing with.
Hmm.
Like because I do about 4 to 5 co-writes a week, and so I've had co-writes where like the people will show up with like a $8,000 guitar,
Mm-hmm.
not take it out of the case, and just watch me write a song for them. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
happened,
Okay.
and I'm like that was so weird. But then I have co-writes where I contribute less than others. So one of the great songwriters in town is a guy named Gordy Sampson, who I've gotten to know, and he wrote Carrie Underwood's "Jesus Take the Wheel,"
Oh,
and he's written like all the Luke Bryan hits. He's a big Nashville country guy, and what he told me, and this is what I've taken to heart and now got to experience in co-writes, but it's like it always comes back around to you. So if there's one song where like you're sitting in the co-write and you don't do too much and like you get a number one hit, like that happens all the time. There are dudes who have just looked into number one hits and
mm-hmm.
not even written a lyric, but they were in the room, so they get a writing credit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it always comes back around. So a song that I write all of, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to word this right.
That's okay.
But yeah. So what I was saying is, it always comes back around, even if one song you do more than another. Songs will become hits.
It
I,
all washes out. It
yeah,
all comes out in the wash.
it all washes out.
Yeah. I think you've hit upon something else that's really important for artists, especially starting out. Everybody wants to write a hit. Nobody sits down and says, all right, let's write a sketch that's so funny. It doesn't have to be that funny. Nobody says that. Nobody sits down to write a song that's going to be mediocre. But it's I think especially in art and when you're brainstorming, it's not about quality, it's about quantity. Just get it out, get it out, get it out, and each successive one, while it might not seem it incrementally, it's not going to get better, better, better. Over the time, you'll look back and go, "Wow, the songs I'm writing now versus the songs I was writing 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, I really have grown."
Yeah.
And the likelihood of a hit does increase.
Oh, yep. It is all about throwing something at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Yes. Don't judge yourself when you're in the creative process.
And songwriters like are very 50-50 split on if that's good or not. Like Neil Young,
Really?
I was watching an interview and Neil Young's like, never ever try and write a song if you don't feel like the creative urge to do so. And I'm of the opposite mindset. I think when you don't want to do it at all is sometimes like when you get something really, really good, like just always go for it. Just always try. Because the worst that happens is you get something you don't like and you don't have to use. But you got that bad idea out of you, you know?
Exactly. I agree with you. And also it made me think it's like going to the gym creatively. Like nobody says, "Oh, I can't wait to get to the gym," but you always feel good walking out.
Yep, always. Exactly. And you always feel good, walking out of a co-write, even if it didn't go great. Like I'm always just thankful that like I gave it a try.
Yes.
And
yes.
to touch back on what you were saying of what I feel like my strong suit is now, I was very lucky. So I do a lot of track work in writes. So
What does that mean? Can you define that?
Yeah. So in every co-write, there's a track guy cutting a demo. So for all co-writes now, like you get a demo at the end of the session. And so I have like I play piano and I play bass and like enough drums to be able to get a demo. So I'm able to like while we're writing this song, write a pedal steel part, write a guitar part, and kind of get the whole thing together for a demo.
Like what we would call the arrangement?
Yeah, yep. So
Okay.
I pretty much arrange.
Okay.
Most co-writes I'm in, I do the arranging, and
Okay.
learning pedal steel really
Oh my God.
boosted that because for country music, I mean, every session where I bring the pedal steel out, everyone always loves it because it's that country snap.
It brings an emotion that cannot be evoked almost.
Oh yeah, the pedal steel is my favorite instrument ever, and I'll never be like a Paul Franklin or one of these giants at it, but I do love to just create parts with it.
I'd like to ask your opinion on this. The way a pedal can fade into a note, which you don't really, I guess you can do it on a guitar. It reminds me of the way Jeff Beck played. He would really use that he would fade into notes instead of just hitting them with a lot of a hard, reaction. And go ahead.
That's what made Jeff Beck incredible. I mean, I can't think of any other guitar player that can do that but Jeff Beck. And Jeff Beck, like his weird technique with the whammy bar, I mean, he was a genius. It's like a paper airplane perfectly, soaring through the sky and like landing perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how I thought of it. And pedal steel, because there's no frets, you can get this eerie, like something's not quite right. I feel like you can really get emotions right with pedal steel because like on a guitar, you either get a note or you don't get a note. And that's not what life is like. Life has like weird in-betweens, and that's what I think pedal steel captures. So I've really just fallen in love with that and trying to tell a story through some simple pedal steel notes.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. We've been talking for almost an hour.
It doesn't feel like it.
I don't want to keep you too long. So, my greatest thrill would be if you'd consider doing this again.
I would love to. Seriously, I had so much fun. We're talking
good.
about all my favorite stuff. I'm like a kid in the candy store.
I would love to spend an hour just talking about guitars.
That I can do. I would love to. What do you have? What's your main guitar?
Oh, I'm barely. I'm not very good, but I do have. I decided I had an Epiphone, Jeff Skunk Baxter. It was so. I sold it and got a Martin D28.
Oh yeah, that
So
awesome.
that's like a standard. I did one of, Guitar Center's. Take 2 years to pay for it.
Oh no, but that's the D28. That's a perfect guitar.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm one of those guys that, the one you mentioned where they walk in with an $8,000 guitar and they never take it out of the case.
Yep.
I'm sort of one of those guys who goes, if I got myself a really expensive guitar, I'll sound great.
I'm stupid.
But actually, it's not that way. Brad Paisley could pick up a $100 Yamaha and it would sound better than anything I can get out of a Martin.
Oh,
Right?
It's all.
Come
it's all
on.
just having fun. And it's just about if you love it, that's all that matters. Like Kevin Nealon owns like some crazy guitars, and Kevin
Does he?
barely plays. Like he owns like a 1960 D28, like some 60s Telecasters, like. But he barely plays. He's like, oh, I don't.
Well, he can afford it. For
And
one.
Brad runs in and he's like cut that out. Like it doesn't. There's no such thing as I don't deserve these.
Oh, okay. He is a very good. I don't know. I don't want to say very good, but he's a banjo player, right?
Yeah, he was picking some banjo while we were sitting on the porch.
Yeah. I took up during the pandemic. I decided I'm going to get a bass. And I found that I really love playing the bass. I have a Fender Mustang short scale.
Yeah, those are killer.
Yeah, I love it. I'm trying to convince myself that I want to get a standard one, but I don't need anything more than this. I found a buddy that I work with who plays guitar, and there's something about, you can, as you mentioned when you were back in Texas, just practicing on your own. There's just something different when you are playing with another musician, even if it's just a simple, even if we're just playing Green Onions.
Yeah.
Playing music, making music with another person there's something so fulfilling about that.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. And a good instrument that you love can really it can bring the best parts out of you. And so that's my debate with because a lot of buddies of mine, are like, oh, you don't need all those nice old guitars. So my two main acoustic guitars, I have a custom shop D28 and made of Adirondack, just how the old 30s and 40s Martins were made. And then a D41, which is the beautiful George Jones style Martin with the ornamentation. And, while I don't need those guitars to play music, each one of those just brings something out of me that nothing else could ever. So that's the beauty of having a guitar that means a lot to you, whether it's good or not. All that matters is that you have a connection with it.
I told you were going to love him. To me, Miles has 3 key ingredients for success as an artist: vision, drive, and focus. He has the vision of what he wants to do specifically. He's got lots of drive and enthusiasm, and he's got the focus to stay on track and not get distracted by, things, by shiny things, or people like girls, college girls. Okay, he's doomed. But there's nothing like a college breakup to fuel a few good songs, right? See, there's material everywhere. Thank you so much to Miles Connor. Remember that name, America. And to Miles's mom and dad, Allison and Court, for giving us such a great kid. Don't forget to like and subscribe and forward this to someone you think would enjoy it. We're going to leave you with a live recording of Miles last year in his audition for the Dallas International Guitar Festival 10 Under 20 contest, which I'm guessing is the 10 best guitarists in Dallas under 20. He auditions with Voodoo Child. I have a history with this song in that I'm always late to discover things like the Hendrix version of Voodoo Child, no D, Child, which I didn't discover until 20 years after it was released in 1968 on the Electric Ladyland album. I was working blowing up balloons for radio station KLSX in Los Angeles, and I was mesmerized by the playing and the lyrics, and it was my favorite Hendrix song. If I don't meet you no more in this world, then I'll meet you in the next one. Don't be late. A couple years later, I was an actual disc jockey when people listened to the radio instead of an app for music at a station in Santa Barbara, and I really liked this new guy, new to me, named Stevie Ray Vaughan. And then I see Voodoo Child on his album Couldn't Stand the Weather, and I thought, oh no. No, Stevie, I love your playing, but some things should just be left untouched. Do not try to top Jimmy or even approach Jimmy. Just leave it alone. And then I played it, and I was humbled big time. Between Stevie Ray Vaughan's Voodoo Child, A Slight Return, and his equally hypnotizing jazz-soaked Riviera Paradise, if you have not heard that, please take a listen. I was fully into the Kool-Aid of Stevie Ray Vaughan. And now, here is another guitarist who can pull off the Hendrix as well, Miles Connor. We will definitely see you again in this world, and thank you for listening to The Modern Moron.
Do you take flack from people you know a little bit for being in country music here and there? Yeah. I do. Even, you know, there's people that are like, why are you in country music? They think we're backward hicks. I've written a song that completely dispels that notion. First date, first kiss, first taste of loving. You were my first cousin.